Tonight, a government minister is quizzed about why ministers have not taken a pay cut amid the challenges brought on by COVID-19. Martinique receives 10,000 doses of the COVID vaccine and begins vaccinations. And the National Workers Union says it now has a promise from G4S that staff will at last be paid what is owed to them. The details of these stories and more coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Loveless and Amy Joseph.
Good day, it is Thursday the 7th of January 2021. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. I'm Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. Amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, many have lamented the fact that so many lost their jobs and that those who are still fortunate enough to remain employed were forced to take a pay cut. However, all eyes were on government ministers and government workers on Wednesday when Tourism Minister Dominic Fedee was asked why they never got any pay cuts. And if the country is really cash-strapped, where is the money coming from to pay ministers' salaries? Rochelle Gonzalez begins our reporting.
As St. Lucians continue to adjust to life with COVID-19, many have been humbled by the blow to their livelihoods dealt by the virus. Those who were spared from the unemployment line were also left feeling grateful for their incomes, even though most were forced to take temporary and in some cases permanent pay cuts, at least until further notice. One set of people who were spared from this particular financial blow altogether was government ministers and government workers. During a press conference with Tourism Minister Dominic Fedee, the topic was raised and Fedee was questioned about the source of the money used to pay government workers, saying that cuts were made in every other area of government spending and announcements were often made about limited funds. Fedee explained that this was due in part to the success of tourism and that it is an indication of the importance of the tourism sector.
You would have recalled that we were expressing deep concern about our inability to meet our obligations to operate government, so salaries and utilities. At present, the last figure that I saw suggests that the government owed different suppliers over $100 million. And this really is because of the reduction in tourism revenues. I know that the Treasury, every day, it's a big surgery that they have to do to be able to determine how they're going to pay their obligations. We would have borrowed since the pandemic began, somewhere in the region of about $300 million. That would have certainly impaired our fiscal health. Our debt to GDP has gone up significantly, and that is because we're feeling the effects of the reduction or the significant declines in tourism revenues.
Fedee said in due time, more evidence will surface to show why it is important to do all that it takes to repair the sector.
The next budget presentation, when those numbers are made very clear to the country, you will see the irreparable harm that the annihilation of tourism has caused to the fiscal health of the country. Last year, we were at 59% of GDP. And I think that the projections are showing by the end of the financial year, we're going to be somewhere at 95% of debt to GDP ratio. So that answers the question in terms of our dependence on tourism and how critical it is across the spectrum of the entire economy. So not only does it provide jobs and linkage opportunities for businesses, but also from the standpoint of government revenue, it makes up a significant portion of what the government would actually collect on a monthly basis.
The tourism sector was the hardest hit during the pandemic that is still wreaking havoc on economies worldwide. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Thank you, Rochelle. Today, Thursday, the Ministry of Health confirmed one new case of COVID-19, bringing the total number of cases recorded so far to 383. The case is a 30-year-old male non-national. Upon arrival in St. Lucia, the individual was retested and placed in quarantine awaiting receipt of his test results. He has since been placed in isolation. The Ministry of Health has reported a total of 9 recoveries today, the 7th of January. This brings the total number of active cases presently in country to 75. The Ministry of Health continues to urge all residents to take the necessary precautions to curb the spread of COVID-19. Now today, Thursday, the 7th of January, journalists in Martinique were invited to attend the first injections of the vaccine against coronavirus. On Wednesday, the 6th of January, 10,000 doses of the vaccine arrived in the country. According to the Regional Health Agency, these vaccines are reserved for the most vulnerable people and caregivers. The residents of nursing homes are the first to benefit, as are the staff who supervise them. But as the President of the Republic, Emmanuel Macron, had promised, the vaccine is not compulsory. In other news, given the toll that COVID-19 has taken on many households in St. Lucia, some parents say they are unable to acquire all the essentials for back to school. The president of the National Principals Association and the principal of the Ave Maria Girls Primary School explained that parents should not fear sending their children to school just because they are unable to provide new items for school.
I think all schools on island with feeding programs, the program starts on Monday because the supplies were already there and the cooks who came in to prepare. So the feeding program starts off on Monday. In terms of other social issues, as the children come in, I'm sure the principals and the teachers will do a needs assessment of their children, and they will make a appeal to corporate citizens, or they may raise a little internal funds to help children who may not have proper shoes and these kind of things.
The principal says she's hopeful that the government will step in and provide access to buses for those in need. She also reminded parents that if they do intend to keep children at home, the respective schools need to be informed.
I'm sure they will reach out to them via virtual means or via packages, sending packages home. These are still options that are there, and it's a matter of ensuring that as the days go on and everything is settled and the measures are in place, those children will be sent to school, and because the system is set up for them and to keep them safe.
St. Helen Henry says despite the fluidity of the COVID-19 situation, parents and teachers need to continue working together for the benefit of children. Stay with us. Still to come, the UWP's PRO dismisses complaints about the color of the CDC buildings. Cicero bus operators say they are eager for school to reopen as it will ease their pockets. And nationals looking to take part in staycations will have to be content with only patronizing accommodations approved for that purpose.